I just want to start off by saying thank you very much for your time. I'm sure you are a busy man, so I really do appreciate your time, and I hope everything is going well on your side. Uh, Peter Murray, the CEO of PFL, how are you doing, sir?
I'm okay, Alistair. Nice to be with you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Peter, if I may, I just want to start to get a couple of things cleared out about PFL, especially the origins and the conception and how it all came about. Obviously, the purchase of a World Series of Fighting is where it started. Just talk us through the initial process, if you can, of PFL and what was the vision at the time of when it was created and started.
Yeah, simply 4 years ago, we had the vision to, our business thesis 4 years ago simply is more room for more than one leader in this sport. The fact that today there are over 550 million fans, 80% outside the US, and they want access to more quality MMA. And so we created a premium product, but differentiated from our competitors, if you will, or other promotions. And our differentiators are, really simple. Three differentiators: one, our sports season format; two, the use of technology and how we leverage our smart cage platform; and three, storytelling. And it's our goal to reimagine and grow the sport and provide top fighters around the world an alternative, as well as provide fans access to, as I said, premium quality MMA on a different night of the week.
Would you say that was the kind of idea behind coming up with the league, which was something completely different? I know the league is kind of aimed at, I want to say mainstream sport, but I'm not really sure that that's fair, based on like your NFL leagues or your football leagues or soccer leagues. Was that the kind of idea? And do you think that a league kind of setup gives MMA more clout in the mainstream, for an example?
Yeah, I mean, like, once again, for sure, Alistair. I mean, the format is a key differentiator. Really, part of our what we felt is the sport was lacking. Number one, it solves something for fighters. It's transparent opportunity to become champion, and athletes, and in our case the fighters, have to earn their way. No different than other major league sports, like you referenced, the NFL or the EPL, the NBA. Although it's not a team sport, the PFL, it really works on the same principle of athletes earning their way, competing through a regular season, top competition. In the postseason, those are the best of the best who earn their way into that position. And then you have a win in advance, lose and go home playoff, and the winners advance to the championship. So fighters in the PFL, unlike any other organization in MMA, they can tell you what they need to do to become champion. Sure. And in other organizations, you have fighters who are ranked in the top 10 in their weight class in the world, or top 5 even, could not tell you or cannot tell you what they need to do to get a title fight. And so we're solving that for the athletes. And it's a simple principle. It's called earn it. If you have the goods and the skills to get in, based on our bar of required experience and skills, then once you get in, you have a coveted spot in a weight class, one of 10 athletes. And now it's called earn it. And our fighters in the PFL, they know who they're fighting, when they're fighting, and what they're fighting for. Pretty simple. And what do you fight for is on the steps of our cage. And it has a lot of different meaning, but it really captures the spirit of the fighter. And so that's what we're really proud of as a fighters first organization. And the alternative that we provide top talent in the world. And we think it plays really well to fans. So now we're building an experience, a product, a live event, and an experience for fans. So that's why it works for fighters. But for fans, now fans can invest in a season-long journey of different fighters across the different weight classes, and they know what their favorite fighters need to do to advance, and how to get they get behind them. So it really works from a storytelling standpoint, from a fan experience standpoint, and that's part of the formula of what's driving our success to date.
One of the key things you mentioned there, and I think it's such a good thing for, especially, I want to say slightly younger fighters, but I would say all fighters, is to know where, when, who, and how, like what's planned out for the next year, where you're going to be, who you're going to be fighting. I think that's such a massive bonus for fighters compared to what they would be used to, just kind of sitting around waiting for the phone call. So I'm a massive fan of that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But we've thought it through. We listened to the fighters. We tried to really provide solutions, and tied to this, alternative. And now we're the #2 MMA organization in the world. So it's definitely working. And again, not disparaging any other organization and how the formats are run, but the way what we're focused on is based on those principles.
I want to ask you, Peter, besides obviously the league structure, the $1 million and the kind of money you guys are giving up, what do you think separates you from the herd? You've spoken about your early success, and it's been pretty quick, a skyrocket rise, if you will. Obviously, besides all of the fan experience, the structure, the differences in the way you guys have come about, what would you say is another contributing factor to what's separating you from the rest?
Well, I touched on, the differentiators, the format, our smart case technology, and storytelling. But it really starts with great fighters and great fights. That's, if you don't have that and you're not authentic to the sport, you don't have anything. And so, Ray Sefo is our president of fighter operations. Ray's a former 6-time world champion K1 kickboxer.
Sure.
He trains elite MMA athletes, and Ray really sets the bar for the quality of athletes coming through and developing under the PFL system. Ray's a proven performer in that. So in the end, not only those differentiators are propelling our growth, it starts with an incredible roster of fighters. Half of the fighters come from outside the U.S. Comes from the U.S. The other half, the rest of the world. This past year, I want to say we had approximately 24 countries represented on the roster, and a third of the roster was made up of athletes who are ranked in the top 25 in their weight class. And so, really, really top talent from around the world.
The next thing I want to ask, obviously, before I get onto the stuff, I really want to ask, how easy is it at the moment to keep the funding alive and those kind of things, given the circumstances around the world with COVID, those kind of, obviously, MMA is a massive emerging sport, and it seems to be accelerating all the time. Is it still quite easy and attractive to outside investors even now?
Well, as it relates to the PFL, we have an incredible ownership and investor group. We're well capitalized. We're in this sport for the long term, and we're committed to continuing to invest in the PFL to A, advance and grow the sport, and B, grow the PFL. And our commitment there is, as it relates to investment, is number one, to continue to develop and sign great fighters. Two, we're expanding the number of events in the calendar 2022. We're really doubling down on the number of events. We'll expand our regular season league format from 10 to 11 events, and then we're launching 8 new events in the PFL Challenger Series starting in February. So we're very excited about that, and then we'll be fleshing out a year-round calendar of live events for the fan, and in addition to launching pay-per-view. So again, we continue to be in the PFL is in investment mode, investing in the brand, investing in the product, investing in athletes, and investing in expanded events and experience for fans.
Amazing. One of those expansions we're hoping to see in the new year is obviously Africa. I know you did mention to another news source here in South Africa locally, there's plans from the PFL for Africa. What can you tell us at this moment, Peter, about your guys' plans for Africa?
Yeah, what I can tell you at this stage, and more to come, early in the new year, is we're excited about the continent of Africa as it relates to an MMA priority and growth market for the PFL. What you can expect from us is expanded distribution tied to the PFL season product. 2, what you can expect from us is further developing athletes and fighters and new signings, from Africa, both South Africa as well as Congolese fighters and others. So, more to come there. And then 3, we're having conversations regarding staging events in Africa, combined with other grassroots initiatives. So on all of those fronts, because it's a priority market and it's a massive market, we got to tick the box on plans on all those things that I mentioned, and we're actually well in the planning process to actually make announcements in the early part of next year. I guess my point is, it's not just aspirational, it's actionable.
Fantastic. There was obviously a lot of buzz after the announcement. A lot of people very excited. I mean, I think the story of African MMA at the moment is talent with a lack of opportunity. So it's always exciting to hear about big names like the PFL expanding down here. And I want to ask about, obviously, you guys have got the latest signing from South Africa, Don Madge, who's prolific South African MMA fighter. What sort of role do you think he plays both in reaching out to that market and your expansion in Africa?
Yeah, Madge is critically important. I mean, he has a fan base and a following, obviously, in South Africa and throughout the continent. And many of our fighters, I think, including Madge, not only are fighting for themselves, under the PFL banner, but they're representing, their country, if you will. And so, it's an Olympic-like experience, and that creates the opportunity for us to engage fans, in South Africa, and again, more broadly, because fans are interested in Madge's journey and how he's going to fare against this top global competition within the PFL. So that's the spark. It starts there with the fighter in the market and tapping the fan base affinity, not only of the sport, but of a regional fighter. And then we provide a large stage and an access to that content for fans to, again, follow Madge's journey, and as well as discover other new talent within the PFL.
Amazing. I have to ask, obviously, there's quite a rush globally. I wouldn't say a rush, but it's a lot of promotions are talking about Africa, the rise of MMA in Africa, but there are obviously a lot of other nations also on the rise. I mean, look at like the Russian takeover, which I know there's quite a big presence in the PFL. The Dagestanis, who are also kind of Russian, and UAE, these kind of places are all starting to really pick up steam. What is so attractive about Africa as an MMA nation?
Well, I think number one, from a consumer standpoint, underserved. The fans are underserved. We want to give them access to premium quality events and competition consistently. And you know, I also think the market is still untapped with respect to developing great athletes. There are great athletes in the market, and including fighters. But I think there's a need for more opportunities for fighters on the continent, of Africa to further develop. We need more events, more activity, more resource, and so we think the consumer base there is underserved. A, and then B, we think there's a need and an opportunity to develop talent.
Amazing. The last one from me, Peter. What can MMA fans all around the world expect from PFL over the next 2 years? In a nutshell, what would you say is the things they can look forward to the most?
Yeah, as I said earlier, what fans can expect from the PFL is continued growth and innovation, but starting with expanding our event calendar with differentiated properties like the Challenger Series, expanding the season format events, launching into pay-per-view. So that's a lot of growth in terms of year-round events in the next 2 years, as well as signing a whole cadre of new fighters, from around the world.
Amazing. Again, thank you so much for your time, Peter. I really appreciate it. Massively exciting. I think South African fans are we're a little bit behind. We're only just waking up to the PFL now. I think compliments of Don Madge. I know some of us have been dipping our toes in. Great format, great production. We really appreciate you guys not forgetting about Africa, and we hope to see you all here in 2022. And we wish you all the best for the rest of the year and the start of the new year with the new season.
Yeah, no, Alistair, appreciate you, and appreciate you recognizing Madge. And again, that's where the spark starts. And then, after that, we light it up with all the other initiatives that we're looking forward to throwing down next year in Africa.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. You have a good evening, sir.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.